share a poem, a story, a song, whatever you got in your heart tonight. Is there anybody? I know there's some poets in the house. Don't make me call you out.
Call them out. Call them out.
Call them out.
Call them out.
I see some Curtis. I see some Adam. I see some Teresa. I see some Mary. I see some many folks like you. Yes, I see some Steve. Who's up first? Who's going to do it? All right, Steve. Help me out.
Steve.
I submitted this poem earlier this spring for consideration in an anthology, and I learned Monday that it was accepted. It'll be published in the fall.
Tell us who you are.
Oh, I'm Steve Zimmerman. And
Hi,
I've
Steve.
known Ketu longer than I care to admit. This anthology, every year it's published and it has a theme. The publisher picks a poem and posts it on the website, and then the goal is to read that poem and write something that fits with it. The poem that she selected this year is entitled Risk by Aeneas Nin. It's a little shorty. And then the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So I wrote, before you go, surplus powerlessness may keep you from becoming the corsage of choice. Before you leave for the big dance, it will be helpful to remember there's no train back to Eden. It doesn't take heroic exceptionalism to sojourn, only willingness. Waiting for an additional measure of spirit causality will likely find you freighted in the ship of fools. Listening for footsteps will refocus you from your results. Ergo, there is no rearview mirror in the cockpit of the airplane. Hear the bloom as it opens. See the aroma swirl and inhale the energy of the cosmos. Enjoy the journey. Thank you.
Who will be there? All right, Al.
Thank you all so much, K2, for doing this, for sticking around. My name's Adam. I usually go by Adash. That's Adam in Polish. I don't know why you should know that. I have a kind of a longer one for you, but it's my story. It's called BC. It's a boy! White and ripe for a little middle-class suburbanite life, and already so well-fed he had to be C-sectioned into this ridiculously fortunate infancy. Already blurring and turning, innocently enough, into a silly but chilly childhood, for as soon as one could. Every breath was spent looking forward to those wrapping paper ripping minutes, as to more already hopelessly addicted. Can a spoiled brat get a fix? And having not yet graduated from single digits, already multi-faced. One of which, little neighborhood terrorist. Yeah, just check out this little chunk of irony. This here was a bedwetter bully. By day, tiny tyrant at recess. By night, piddling those pajama pants. Poster child for insecurity. And despite two married and loving parents, to suffer through tremendous privilege, he'd manage all week just dreading that 1 hour, as it was the worst of it. Stand up, sit, kneel, stand, kneel, sit. We gotta say how many hails to Mary, and hurry, better beat the traffic. Just after yawning, that same old song, always in the key of drone, and on his own. Having asked for enough things, undelivered or just too slow, he decided nothing was there. Then, of Cobain and Reznor, a devout follower, playing drums would become just one of some idle forms of worship, but playing hooky began to stick. By grade 6, so set on convincing and being convinced of any sickness, soon worried sick someone would not take his lying to himself so serious. And though those eyes were soon cried dry, the crippling depression, he'd almost died trying to deny. For about half a decade, it was like this. House and hell-bound, bored, in so many ways blind. Meanwhile, as uprooting twice left the fruit of any friendships behind, he was left enslaved to the mastering, living life through something else. Games after comics, anything for a more effective hypnotist or the next best mental escape hatch, always opting for the most graphic and not above raiding the wallets of immediate family members to feed these habits. Oh, and to hate high school, never got nor took the chance, showing face for a week or two before slipping into the predictable backslide, down, down, down into almost solidified thoughts of suicide. And just in time to empathize with the events at Columbine, but in this fashion, thank God, he'd do nothing more than fantasize. And about now, Mom got a puppy. For the keeping her reclusive second son some sort of company, a cute and happy White Highland Terrier. Terrified. Almost all day, every day. Next to him, nothing scarier. Once routinely subjected to our bipolar basement boy's hellish self-pity because hurting himself was only the beginning. By now longing to feel something. Cutting. This here was the bottom. From where nowhere near looking up or even out. No thanks. Help. But then came the life-saving stomach aches. Could hardly eat a thing without having to soon crap out some brains, and with this, the madness was brought into focus. Heck yes, allergy test, and as the itching scratched all things tasty from the list, this taste of hell had for now passed, and for now, he'd live. Sort of. Got a car, a job, and senior year, but bring on the heartbreaking. All that porn ignited an already awkward virginity, burning a hole in his soul's pocket, labeled by him lonely. Maybe music would attract that someone, anyone. Weird, sometimes funny guy here. Oh well, forever over the worst of it. Or so he thought. College, for whatever reason, various warehouse jobs, and while still a freshman, got really into drugs. Pretty much anything short of meth, crack, or heroin, so determined he was in his soul searching and destroying, and it's a miracle he didn't land in prison. As sloppy as he was at dealing, briefly, but long enough for a "give me everything you got, man!" And somewhere in there, cleansed of the contracted gastrointestinal intolerances, In light of this, and despite his doubt, he gave thanks to God. Yeah, that one he didn't even believe in. And about now learning a little something not so mainstream about 9/11, but reading a sort of self-help book for helping oneself to women, much like confidence in a can. Now he was the one doing the heartbreaking, armed with poetry. The end of one 2-year, mostly long-distance waste of innocence marked the start of one, too, common conquest. Becoming one, with one woman after another. Number 4, lived to 5, 6. And all this, despite the marijuana-induced performance issues. Yeah, they don't tell you that smoking weed might lead to surgery. Oh, and how hesitant he was to believe. But twice. And yes, upon the parts of only a man's anatomy. Unfazed. Still living for the weekend. About as relaxing as a car accident while still crashing forward with no direction. It'd be a while yet till Mom's crash exposed much of himself to him. Most concerned, consumed with sleeping around. So saith the doctors, unable to have kids, led to a miscarriage and a live-in girlfriend. Mom's got Lou Gehrig's in college, coming to an end. Obama, what just happened? Where's that hope and change? Who are those men behind the curtain? Millions are starving, the world's ending, working away. Who gives a flip about your freaking lawn? And by now, imprisoned to the escaping, as she was seemingly the most effective means, and once again not above selling weed, this time to make ends meet, but growing more passionate for that towering mountain of conspiracies. What is there to do? Protest? Stockpile guns? Food? Or play video games, get drunk, have sex, and pretend to not have a clue? Then, at last, even with all hope pretty much lost, cocky at class, who's this goofy-looking dude sporting a cross on top of an American flag? Well, our drug-dealing Prince Charming had just a few words to say about that. Hey, buddy, that's offensive. Really? Does it offend you that Jesus died for your sins? Oh. And from there, simple invitations had our guy finding himself high at a Bible study, but paying pretty close attention regardless, as what was once so far-fetched began making sense. In the Word, he saw himself, along with the true ways of this world, all in ways he had never before heard. And already current events were sounding pretty parallel in the biblical department, noting the worldwide apostasy, the impending mark of the beast, and one world government. Meanwhile, in the very book of the same name of a band for which he once played bass. Oh, coincidences, perhaps. Hey guys, so what's this about offering our bodies as a living sacrifice? For once, beyond his own understanding, he'd just begin to look past. Heck yes. Morpheus, hand over that red pill, the truth, and nothing less. Though not yet knowing what to make of this Jesus, about now pro-Christian as anti the elitists. In just a matter of weeks. On his own, weighing the evidence, once so resistant to the path, now of least resistance, the idea pops into his head to simply say the name and mean it. Jesus. 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 Not long till he'd acknowledge his need for forgiveness and seek it. Then, on an otherwise mundane Monday, They met. An hour passes and his godsend of a friend asks, "Have you accepted Christ?" His response, "Yes." And in that moment, just as he was found in the finding of all he ever wanted, it's the strangest thing. He was crucified on the spot. Yeah, he died. He died, and I was born to live as designed forevermore for the Lord.
Okay, I'll do a short one.
All right.
I want to read this whole thing. Listen to it.
You ready to go?
Page 1. I'm working on these two sections I'm putting together. As you can see, it's called 45s and 33s. And the 45s is about Stevie Wonder and how he's been the soundtrack to my life in a sense. And the 33s deals with a song from Junior, Mama used to say, and it kind of addresses the song and goes off into what my mother actually said. But I'm just going to read one poem, and it's a short one, and it's called If It's Magic. Stevie Wonder has a song called If It's Magic. And the titles that deal with Stevie's titles tend to kind of address what the song is doing for the narrator, or kind of gets into their, kind of like what you were doing with the poem that they gave you to play off of, that type of thing. So, If It's Magic. We want to cuddle the sparrow, fold in its light wings, ruffle the squirrel's tail. Not so much as hold them hostage, but to own how existence pumps in our hands. That orgasm of our curiosity handled. To not be God is the real lovely. To live with unattainable curiosity at our throats. To let what's beautiful home this born beauty. See, that humming gets to you.
Yeah. Y'all don't want to hear me hum.
I'm Hannah Jordan. I write poetry, and this poem I wrote is called Life This Way. Is this the way life should be? God, why is life this way? Is there something I can't see? Life is a struggle each day. Like, where do I go when everywhere I turn there's corruption? You see, I be trying to accomplish things, but here comes disruption. Who do I seek when my own turn against me? I can't get caught up with the hype because there isn't love in the streets. I try to tell my youth, don't get caught up with the hype because there isn't love in the streets. Blood shed, people dead, mamas and children haven't met, some don't get that. Dads and sons locked away, mamas pleading for dads to stay. No way. I wish life wasn't like this every day. Get to wondering, is this the way life should be? Because this is all I see. I'm trying to be a soldier for thee. I'm trying to fight in the war against the enemy, breaking up families and causing tension in the streets. Taking away love when we know that love is from the one above. Is this the way life should be? Because this is all I see. God, please prove to me a different life. Because this ain't to be, not a life this way.
Make sure you get on the mailing list. And put poet by your name. Teresa, Mary, Mary. Well, I think they want to hear me sing. Will there be another? Will there be one more to close us out? Do you have another one? Come on. All right.
This one isn't one I wrote. This one is by one of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou. This is called Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Cause I walk like I've got wheels pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, leaking by my sofa cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, cause I laugh like I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the husk of history's shames, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
All right.
She got fireworks for her stuff.
That's good, Curtis. That was good. Thank you, everyone, for coming. This was the finale to season 3. Season 3. We begin season 4 in September. We go through to the end of June. Now, there's just one caveat, and I must speak to it. We will go into season 4 if we are still here. We will be here if we have the community support. As Emmanuel said, we do not live on grants. There are no grants currently. We have one pending, but that's a light one. It's like $1,500. It's an arts grant. It will pay the artists who come in here to do their work, because artists need to be supported. And so we try to get the art dollars that are in the community to give to the artists. There is no operational dollars coming through Triad. We pay the bills based on what we raise at the door, on what the ensemble raises in its performances, on your contributions and your membership dollars. Why do we do that? Because we want this to remain yours. If it is supported by foundation dollars, it does not belong to you, and it does not belong to us. It belongs to the foundation. And when the foundation cuts the dollars, it goes down the tube. This is a community institution. It's supported by community dollars. Once we can hold our own with community dollars, then we will seek foundation support to supplement what the community is doing. We are downtown. There are 2 African institutions downtown. They are both skating on thin ice, existing on a lifeline. Three Rivers Institute of African Art and Culture, African American Historical Museum across the street. It's important that there be some presence of African people, of people of color, downtown. Downtown is the heart of a community. It was the labor of our ancestors who built the wealth of this nation. We need to be downtown, represented as both symbol and as practical work of the community. So it's social, it's political, it's spiritual. Just a quick story. When I came here, I was a journalist. I'm still a journalist, but when I came here, I was a journalist doing journalist work. One of the first people I interviewed told me that there had been a meeting of the city fathers around the turn of the 19th century here in the city of Fort Wayne, and that they had decreed that Fort Wayne would forever remain a small city town, no matter how large it got. In the early 1900s, black people did not have a presence anywhere near downtown Fort Wayne. We say that it is important for people of color to see themselves represented in the symbolic heart of the city if we are to go forward into this post-racial era that all the politicians want to tell us we live in. Those of us who are living in America as black and brown people know there ain't nothing post-racial about America right now. There's a lot of talk about multiculturalism, a lot of talk about diversity. If you go into the centers of downtown where business is done, you don't see too much diversity. And if you go to the boardrooms, you may see a fly in the sugar bowl here or there. If we are to be a society where justice has a meaning, if we are to be a society where people value is taken into consideration, then we have to change the symbols. We have to change what we see before the mass of people will change their minds. There's a book that was written by a gentleman named Albert Churchward called The Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man. The book speaks eloquently about how what we see shapes what we do. We are saying we need to be here in this space. We need to have black and brown people represented in the spaces where business is done and money is made and power is distributed. If we want to maintain a society that is of, for, and by the people, then we got to come up to the truth of those words. There was no truth in the words when they were written. It's our responsibility to bring truth to the words. Truth often has to catch what is said. Well, we are a couple of hundred years behind the words. So, with that said, whatever you can do to support TRIAC, to support the African American Historical Museum, to support the Hispanic and Latino institutions in town, do it. Because it makes all of us better people. And it holds all of us in a bowl of accountability. We need to be accountable for what the so-called founders, they ain't my founding fathers. I don't know that. For what the founding documents of America say. We need to hold the people who run the country accountable. But we have to first hold ourselves accountable. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for all your time, for your support, and have a great and grand evening and a magnificent 4th of July. It's coming. And please fill out the evaluation forms.